The quiz tomorrow will have 12 questions. 12 questions. And then, no, 12 questions. For tomorrow, I'll do 12. Now, the first two is like my example number one. I'm going to ask you guys to grab the image. So here we have grab the image of the figure using the transformation given. We have y equals negative x. We have a reflection. There's two ways on how to do this one. Let me see. There's two ways. One way, use the table that we have. So let me get the coordinates as we have them now. So like I said, there's two ways on how we can do this. I'm gonna say that the coordinates of D, right, or E, I mean, the coordinates of E to begin with is 2, 1. So I'm gonna get the coordinates that I have right now. When I look at the coordinates of G, I have 3, 1. When I look at the coordinates of F, I have 3, 4. Then when I look at the board, when it says reflection across y equals negative x, it says xy becomes negative y, negative x. So I have to flip my numbers and switch both signs. So if I want to get e prime, I'm going to get negative 1, negative 2. Right? Flip them and switch both signs. If I look at g prime, I'm going to get negative 1, negative 3. And if I look at f prime, I'm going to get negative 4, negative 3. I plot those points in, negative 1, negative 2, negative 1, negative 3, and then negative 4, negative 3. That's my f prime. I connect my points, and that's all I do. Like I said, that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing this is count spaces, because that's one thing we can do with reflection. The line y equals negative x is this line. So I'm going to count spaces. My line is diagonal, so E, I'm going to count diagonal 1.5. So it should be 1.5 on the other side. G is 1, 2 spaces. So G prime should be 2 spaces as well. And I'll do the same for F. 1, 2, 3.5. So I go half and then 1, 2, 3. All right. You can either use the table to get the coordinates and plot the points, or you can count spaces. Either way gives you the same thing. So two ways on how we can do reflection. Now, question number 2 here, I have write a rule. So I'm going to give you guys both. On paper, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between blue and black because it's all black. So use annotations like P and P prime or Q and Q prime and so on and so forth. It seems like the picture got flipped. It seems like a reflection. When it comes to pictures and reflection, I'm not going to limit myself to the 4 special cases on the board. I can do any other cases. So what I'm going to do to find the mirror line, I look at the P's, P and P prime, and I find the point in the middle. I look at the S's, S and S prime, find the point in the middle, and I can even do the same with the R's. When I connect my points, I get my mirror line. On reflection, the midpoints will give me a line. The mirror line will be a line, right? So I know the x-axis. The x-axis is also known as y equals 0. I notice that my line is 1 above. So that line is called y equals 1. So I'm just going to write reflection across y equals 1. So the quiz tomorrow, like my example number 1 where you guys have to graph it, 2 of those questions. Questions where I give you guys an image and you have to write the rule, 2 of those questions. So that's basically 4 from the quiz tomorrow. Any questions on those? No? Then, on the back side of our quiz, I'm going to use all numbers. So, find the coordinates of the vertices of each figure after the given transformation. We're doing rotation of 180. When I look at rotation of 180, it says that xy becomes negative x, negative y. What that means is don't switch the numbers, just change the signs. So if the coordinates of I prime are going to be 3, 1, right? Change the signs. If I want to get the coordinates of H prime, it's positive 1, negative 3. Right? All I'm doing is changing the signs. And then G prime will be negative 1, 0, because there's no such thing as negative 0. And F prime is going to be negative 1, positive 4. Right? Just change the signs. On the notation on the board, those little negative, it doesn't mean make the number negative. It means change the sign. So now looking at my question number 4, I'm going to have to write a rule because y is straight above from y prime, right? Y prime is right at the bottom. I know it's not reflection because I told you guys on reflection, if y is at the beginning, I will put y prime at the end to help you guys know that that's reflection. But because y prime is straight at the bottom, I know it's not reflection. So I'm either between translation or rotation. Now, I'm looking at the value, I'm following my point y. I notice that negative 5 becomes negative 5. So my numbers do not switch. I mean, the signs don't change, but 3 becomes 0. So my number totally changes. On rotation, all I do is change signs or flip numbers. But I don't change from a 3 to a 0. Right? Rotation only changes signs or flip numbers. It doesn't change the value of numbers. So I know it's not rotation. So this case will have to be translation. When I look at translation, the x value stays the same. So I'm just going to put an x to say the x value stays the same. When I look at the y's, it seems like I'm subtracting 3. So I'm going to go y minus 3. And if I do a quick look on everything, yeah, the x's stay the same. Subtract 3 from every y. So that's translation. Like I said, in the quiz, I'm gonna include all 3 types. Now for the quiz tomorrow, my example number 3, where I give you guys the coordinates and ask you guys for the coordinates of the vertices, there's gonna be 4 of those on the quiz. So my example number 3, there's 4 of them. And my example number 4, where you guys have to write the rule, there's 4 of them as well. So that makes a whole 12. Any questions? No?